Guys of a Certain Age is brought to you by no one. Absolutely no one. Except these dudes walking down memory lane. Now let's head to the studio to see what they misremember next.
And we are back, Guys of a Certain Age. Robbie Koblenz in studio along with two other guys.
Art Shirley.
And Jay Reed.
Hey, we're back for the second week in a row, all in the same place. Is this like disrupt the space-time continuum or something?
It must.
Like that?
Timely wobbly, tubbly, something.
God, you usually get it right.
I can never remember the exact.
Timey-wimey.
Timey-wimey? Are you sure?
Are you sure?
Who is the Doctor Who fan?
Yeah.
Timey-wimey just didn't sound right. But okay.
You stay in your lane over there, Mr. Hawaiian Shirt Boy. So, all right, let's jump into some Geeks of the Week.
Last week.
Probably.
It is. Probably the same underwear, too. So, anyway, who wants to go first for their Geek of the Week?
Shall we carry tradition on? Art,
Yeah,
you
certainly.
go first.
All right, what do you
I'll
have
go
for a
first.
Geek of the Week?
From Geek Tyrant, there are some new G.I. Joe
No.
classified action figures coming out. Storm Shadow version 2, Retro Cobra Commander, Alpine Stinger, and more, including Sergeant Slaughter. I can't find what size these are, but I'm looking at some pictures of some things. They just had the June Yo-Jo event, which I was not aware of that, but it's a Hasbro event where they announced the new lineup of toys that are coming out. And Hasbro has been the longtime manufacturer of G.I. Joe. And now they're coming out with stuff, and it really looks a lot like some of the just highly detailed kind of stuff. So I'm wondering if it's 12-inch figures. I don't think this is the...
That's pretty big.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's the 3 or 4-inch version that...
I think this is more like a sideshow
collectible
type of thing.
They're like $25 a piece.
Yeah, that's going to be like a
sideshow, and those are like $250.
Yeah, this is going to be like a 9-inch.
So maybe okay, I got you. Like Legends is.
Yeah.
So that's somewhere between, and that probably looks like what we're seeing. I don't think it's a 1/6 scale. I think it's probably, but it's highly detailed. Very articulated. A lot of accessories and props that come with it.
Posable.
It's very posable. Yeah.
And that's where Jay gets into trouble with posable action figures.
Carry on.
It's not a life-size doll.
No, not like was it Scarlett Johansson that we talked about getting a life-size?
Yeah,
Carry on.
A Black Widow.
Carry on.
Anyway, there's also this is called the G.I. Joe Classified Series line, and Albert Alpine Pine
Sure.
is one of the new characters they're presenting. So, and there is talk, I don't know if you've seen this, there's talk about a movie, the last Transformers movie had a little nod to G.I. Joe.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, the organization in the end credits or mid-credits scene, they had a G.I. Joe, you see the G.I. Joe organization. And so they're thinking about trying to reboot that franchise. And I can't remember who's associated with it, but some actor that...
No, the last Transformers movie, wasn't it? Was it animated?
There have been animated. This was, it's all CGI, so you could say it's animated, but no, it's live action.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking there was animated one.
It was something about
recently.
Beast of Transformers or whatever. I can't remember what it was.
I'm not sure I've seen that one.
It was on something free, or I wouldn't have watched it. But it was entertaining.
No, it was on something you already subscribed to.
Yes, it was not at all free. Speaking of which,
yeah, I used to be really into the Transformer movies in the beginning, but I haven't followed lately.
Decepticon, more than meets the eye. Autobots wage their battles to destroy the evil forces of the Decepticons.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys were a little old for Transformers when it hit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But you sound like Jacob. We were in South Africa one time and busy in putting Jacob in front of Cartoon Network quite a few days.
Yes.
And one day he just pops up and says, Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo, and many more.
Wow.
Just quoted the ad.
Yeah. That's what you realize.
Consumerism run amok.
Right. Maybe you spend a little too much time in front of the TV.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit too much. Now it's all screen time with plasma devices and LEDs and whatnot. So Captain America 4, which is called New World Order, which is going to have Anthony Mackie in the role of Sam Wilson, who is going to be the new captain.
Right.
Giancarlo Esposito, I can never pronounce his name, Gus Fring, is playing some mysterious villain in this movie.
Interesting.
Nobody really knows. Now, there have been some set photos leaked, and some folks have said, he looks almost like Blade.
Really?
Yeah, because he's got the three daggers across. I'll show you him.
Okay.
He looks like an older Blade, which was going to be a Lee Mahershala
Ali.
Yeah, thank you.
I think I don't know if that's right or not.
Yeah,
That's
but
little closer,
he was at he did the voice cameo at the end of the Eternals with Kit Harington, who played Black Knight.
Yeah.
So there was talk of a Black Knight Blade sort of.
Yeah,
back
and the Blade
door.
movie I think is kind of going back to square one if it's happening at all, right?
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah.
But anyway, it'll be interesting to see Gus Fring. We probably need to.
I was just thinking he needs to be one of the ones. Right?
Yeah, we need to do a
He
Go
would be a
Kagi.
great Doctor Doom, though.
Oh, he would.
I mean, the age may not be right since he and Mr. Fantastic are both supposed to be the same age. I think he's older than Pedro.
But he's such a great actor.
God, it'd be great.
I had seen this news, and it.
Jay's pointing at my iPad with the picture.
Here I go pointing again. And it was hard to tell. Like, do you think they added him later? Because it said there was like a bunch of reshoots.
I think they did. Yeah.
Apparently, the movie did not test very well at all.
And this is a movie, right? Not a series.
It's a movie.
Yeah.
And this is the one with Harrison Ford playing Ross.
How dare you, Mr. Banner?
And he's going to
Dr.
be.
Banner.
It looks like he's going to be Red Hulk in it.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay,
and this
knows?
is the backdoor pilot to Thunderbolts.
That would lead up to that, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so that's y'all are on the same page, and like maybe they just added him and.
Yeah, I think they've had
things.
like Robbie said, it did not test very well, and they're retooling.
Okay.
Yeah, like everything, practically.
Rock and roll.
So, well, no, it's not quite rock and roll, but could be more like top 40 or free fusion jazz. The way they're
Keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars.
ponderous, man, just ponderous. Oh, Casey Kasem, a little call back to radio. Oh man. Well, hey, I've got a little. I'll do a shout out. Have you guys watched Mythic Quest on Apple TV Plus?
I'm not. Is that the
first two
animated
seasons.
thing?
No. Yeah.
There's 3. Is there 3 seasons? I've
There's
watched
3
2.
seasons.
I watched
Okay,
the first
Mythic
2.
Quest.
Yeah.
What is it?
It's Rob McElhaney. It is basically The Office if it was at a video game company.
Okay.
And I think it's hilarious.
I loved it.
did
I
you?
loved it. Yeah.
Rob McElhaney and Rob Ryan are Ryan Reynolds, not Rob Ryan. Rob Ryan is the former defensive coordinator for the Saints, who did great for one season until everybody figured out his defenses. Anyway, Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhaney bought Wrexham. And so that was my introduction to
gotcha.
Rob McElhaney.
Yeah,
So Mythic Quest came out the same time Ted Lasso did, and got a little overshadowed by Ted Lasso.
Gotcha.
But
have y'all watched Big Door Prize at all? We cannot stop watching that. That's on
Big
Apple TV.
Door Prize?
Big Door Prize.
I've seen the ads because we've been watching a bunch of Apple lately.
Yeah.
Really, and it's a genre thing too. There's a kind of a mystical sci-fi possibly element to it. Just a really quirky, funny show. We really like it a lot.
Yeah, cool. I'll have to check it out. I find myself being drawn to Apple TV Plus.
It's interesting
products
because,
more.
with all the streaming news and everything that's going up in streaming, you go, what are we going to cut? What do we cut? And almost everything has something that, okay, I got to watch this on there.
Yeah, we're watching Manhunt right now on Apple TV.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've heard that's good.
Constellation, I think, is getting.
Axed, did it?
Yeah, I think it's getting axed after one season. Did either you guys watch it?
I didn't.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
And then there's the other show that's on. I forget. It's got Jonathan Banks from Better Call Saul in Breaking Bad as a aged astronaut. It's
Is that on Apple TV Plus too?
Yeah. It's not
Okay.
called Constellation. What's it? One of them's Constellation. Dark Matter.
Oh,
No.
yeah.
I'm sorry. That's Constellation I'm talking about. But Dark Matter, where he flips to a different
And I've heard that
universe.
was good.
I've watched the first episode of it, and I can't really get into
it yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I couldn't get into Masters of the Air either. So,
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah.
Severance is supposed to have a second season, I think, before the end of the year.
Yeah, hopefully.
Well, hopefully we'll see.
Yeah.
Jay, do you have a geek?
I do.
Do we want to hear it?
Do we have time
You
for
do.
it? Oh,
Oh, that does it for this week. No, go ahead. What you got?
Well, this is a celebration of life. Richard Sherman of the Sherman Brothers, who was famous for a lot of things, but mostly Disney animated music. So he passed. He was 95 years old. He and not that Richard Sherman.
No,
picture,
it's not. Yeah.
But I got that too when I pulled him up. So he and his brother together were co-writers. They got 9 Academy Award nominations. Yeah. They won Best Score and Best Song for Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins,
Chim Chimney Chim Chimney Chim Chim Chimney. 3 Grammys, 24 Gold Platinum albums. So big. They're kind of like the John Williams of the Disney group.
They wrote "It's a Small World" after all.
Oh, exactly. Did they really?
And big, Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow, which is what you hear all the way through
Epcot.
No, it's in Magic Kingdom.
Fantasy.
Something about tomorrow. I can't remember the
Tomorrowland.
World Tomorrow. Yeah, but there's like a ride where you kind of sit and you watch the it's like one family and you see them from the early
Carousel of Progress.
Yeah, Carousel of Progress. That's the song that they play throughout that.
Now is the time.
And he has. I'm going to go back to his Disney stuff, but he does have a geek credit. He wrote
Charlotte's
something
Web,
called. Oh shoot, I forgot it now. He wrote a song in Iron Man. Iron Man 2, let's see if I have the name of it. I just listened. Make Way for Tomorrow Today.
Oh, it was probably from the scene where they go back.
Or it's in the
instrumental.
expo.
It's just
that's the World Spirit Expo.
Yeah,
That's you see the father.
Yeah,
and it's very reminiscent of.
Oh, probably is
Carousel of Progress.
Okay, so that song is part of Iron Man 2, and then
That's interesting. They went back to him to write something that's like that.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so that's his. Well, his geek index is probably not too high, but he. After Disney, he did Tom Sawyer, Huck Finn, the movies that you would recognize, the ones that we watched.
Yes,
as we were little. So also came back like they did the Jungle Book song. I listened to an interview. I have the Jungle Book soundtrack on CD. I listened to a little bit of on the way here, an interview, and talking about just how they developed some of the songs. And so then they brought him back when the live version of Jungle Book came out.
I saw that.
And redid some lyrics for that.
Wow.
He was
now, was
in
he the lyricist?
Robin. I'm not sure. I didn't see that anything that I read.
I didn't know
which
if one brother was music, one brother was lyrics. But
yeah, I'm not sure.
I think they split.
I think they may have too, just kind of based on Saving Mr. Banks, the movie, and you see a little bit
right
there.
They were featured in that, and they were consulted. If you look through his IMDb page, it's just like it goes on forever.
Yeah,
and ever.
Charlotte's Web, which was not a Disney product.
Right? Yeah.
Winnie the Pooh,
which is now Disney.
Tons and tons of stuff. I love, I was a big Disney fan before I ever had kids, and so I would buy the videos as soon as they came out, and I'd listen to the music
because they're going to be worth something one day.
Well, that's what got those. Yeah, still
maybe.
But
I've got the. I was listening to Jungle. I know I can sing along with Jungle Book. I can sing along with Little Mermaid. Pretty much all the words. Not beyond that. I don't know a lot of the music aside from Mary Poppins, but he was involved in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
I would like to hear some of the
Broomsticks.
Little Mermaid stuff in your bass voice.
And that does it for us today. So no, that was a joke.
I want to go where the people are.
Well, that's not in the bass voice. It's Sebastian.
Yeah, you were doing Sebastian. Okay.
I've never seen Little Mermaid.
Really? That was an incredible return to form for Disney. That movie came out and it's like, okay, they're doing animated movies.
I thought Lion King preceded Little Mermaid.
Little Mermaid was the first of the batch, I believe. You can look it up and see, but
I'll go home and see when my videos were released.
It's either Little Mermaid or Beauty and the Beast. I think Beauty and the Beast was second, but Little Mermaid I think was first.
Okay.
Cool.
But that's he was just a huge name.
I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't realize when you said the Sherman Brothers who that was, but I certainly know.
Yeah, and of course if you know the movies, the Disney movies, you know the songs, but those other like the Marvel song and It's a Small World and Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow, you don't realize. I didn't realize that he had done all that.
You may have been cursing him by the time you got through This Small World.
Well, that's that's. But it's iconic songs both.
Yeah. Big loss. So, all right, that's going to do it for the front end. The back end is the second part of my interview with remote control star Jim Biddle. Up next. And we're back. When we last left our hero, Jim had won a tiebreaker, was heading to the final round, something like that. I completely forgot. But you can rewind and listen. Here's the second half of our interview with Jim Biddle on his remote control appearance from 1990 on MTV.
It used to be, I think there were the wall of television.
Yeah.
And then they did this whole thing now where you were on this spinning rack.
Well, and when I watched it, I was surprised at that because I remember the wall of TVs where you're trying to go through, you're doing the whole gamut, trying to name every artist in the music videos that are, I think it was 20 TVs or 18 TVs, something like that.
10.
Oh,
10. It was 10 questions.
It was 10 questions. I thought it was much more than that. And so, but they load you up on this torture rack and they're rotating you upside down. And you're having...
And everyone on the show was so cool about it. They helped me in. I think there was a couple of, PAs that helped me in. And it was Ken, Colin. I cannot remember the young woman's name who was like the hostess / model. And Dennis. And they just kept looking at me and they go, okay, all you have to do... They said, just keep looking at your feet. Just keep looking at your feet because there's a TV below you and there's a TV above you. Just keep looking at your feet. Don't look anywhere else and you're going to be fine. They were like really, really nice about the whole thing. They wanted everybody who was on the show just to like have fun and win stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So I knew I was doomed because I was the third show. The first two contestants both won cars. I'm like, I'm doomed. And I think I got like 5 videos in. I'm like, maybe I can win this. And then there's just something pops up. I'm like, nope, no car for Jimmy.
Yeah,
there's no way. I don't know what this is.
It was like the 8th or 9th video that stumped you and you ran out of time on that.
Yeah, the DOC. And it's like, I've had students look at me and go, how do you not know the DOC? It's like, well, I know him now, and I have a great story where I can tell to people, oh, yeah, the DOC, that dude cost me a car. Without even explaining the MTV thing, and they go, oh, man, that's so cool. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
But overall, and then when it was over, they were just really nice. They were, it was, they wanted to make it a fun experience for everybody, and it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even people that lost were just like having the time of their lives. It was really fun.
Well, at that time, MTV was the thing. I mean, it was the arbiter of cool for our generation. Remote Control was like the first game show made for us. And I mean, it was kind of a cult phenomenon, and you were on Remote Control, which was just pretty amazing,
I think it's lucky. I think if I hadn't have gone to Syracuse, I don't know that I would have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Simply because they did a lot of their recruiting on the East Coast.
Well, because they couldn't recruit anywhere else. At that point, obviously, there's no Zoom, there's no anything, and and I would encourage you to go back and listen to the podcast. They talked about how low their budgets were. You could tell from the set. I mean, it's just like this. Literally looks like it is nothing but gaff tape and equipment from 10 years ago. Yeah. Yeah, and that would have been 1980 as opposed to 10 years ago today.
Yeah.
So
it's like,
yeah. Well, and they were trying to figure out at that point, I think in 90, their carriage had increased. I mean, they were being carried across the country. It became that first tier premium. I mean, not a premium channel like an HBO, but a first tier network like an ESPN. It became a must have to carry. And
that's what I love. That's what I love telling students. Where they're like, you grew up with MTV. And I'm like, well, not for 2 years. And they go, what do you mean? It's like, my parents didn't have cable.
Yeah.
So, I was Friday night videos.
Yeah.
And they go, what does that mean? It's like, buddy. And I show them some reruns. I think there's some old episodes of Friday night videos on YouTube, and they'll go, what is this? It's like, this is on After Johnny Carson on Friday nights. This is how the rest of us got our videos. We saw the Thriller video a week later on Friday night videos and stuff like that.
That was
Well,
that was NBC's Friday night piece that they basically ripped off MTV. But they didn't have VJs. They just had a voiceover read, if I remember correctly, introducing stuff. And then
it was a voice. It was just a voiceover. Yeah.
And then I think USA Network had Night Flight, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Which it's funny. That's a channel now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can pay like $30 a year for Night Flight, and you can see all the old interviews. All the videos that weren't on MTV or that were on like 120 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I found I liked 120 Minutes a lot. They had an alternative show at 10 o'clock. I cannot remember what it was called.
I can't remember that
but
either. Well, I know, I remember it. I don't think, because the thing that in college, the thing that people were really into was Liquid Television, the animation stuff.
Oh, I forgot about Liquid Television.
Yeah, Liquid TV. Yeah.
And then, of course, Beavis and Butthead came along, Eon Flux, all that stuff. That was that early 90s, mid 90s. And then they discovered the real world. And again, the podcast goes through all that. And, what's sad about MTV now is they are programming 3 shows, and that's it. Ridiculousness, Jackass, and I forget what the third show is. But, I mean, Ridiculousness is 80% of the programming block now. And
I don't think I've watched MTV since 95 or 96.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even know it if it was on, unfortunately.
Well, it was interesting. One of the things that they talked about was how they anticipated their audience to age out, and at some point they didn't care about you; they cared about your younger siblings, and they were trying to pivot. And then they also talked about in the podcast how MTV refused to embrace the internet, and how Sumner Redstone was chair of Viacom, which owned MTV at that point, and they had a years-long suit against YouTube because folks were putting product from MTV up on YouTube, and instead of
because there's no presence.
And so anyway, I would strongly recommend that you listen to it. It's a great podcast. Very, very well produced, very well researched, and it chronicles the rise and fall of. And
let me send you the tape that I have of it, because I can't remember. What's really funny is the YouTube link that I sent you.
Yeah,
that's Rachel. That's Rachel's channel.
Okay,
Rachel, who darn near beat me. I thanks to you, I kind of got in touch with her.
Nice.
And she's doing great. It was really good to kind of text with her. But I didn't watch through the whole episode. I don't know how much she posted, but
it's the whole episode.
My copy with commercials.
I believe it is. I mean, it's 30 minutes.
Yeah, because I when I used to show it to the students, the thing that used to freak them out the most were the commercials.
Yeah.
It had the 2-minute long Pepsi commercial. I think it had the Freedom Rock commercial on it. Hey, man,
turn it up, man.
Well, turn it up, man.
Yeah.
And it also had some local Indiana commercials, which were just hilarious.
Well, What's funny is
my God, it had my copy, and I'll check the thing, but I got to send it to you. It has what a movie preview used to look like in 1990. So it's the full, I think it's a 3-minute preview for The Lord of the Flies with Balthazar Getty.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
And I've had students, when they'll watch it, they'll go, "Is this the whole movie?" And I'm like, well, I mean, that's what they used to look like.
It's a whole different world. So
it's crazy. It's crazy.
What's funny is I've gotten on this kick the last 3 or 4 months where I've set up 3 digitization stations, and I'm digitizing from VHS, Super VHS, Beta SP, 3/4, trying to get all my personal tape archives digitally encoded. And I've come across where I found I guess it was a 2-hour block I recorded off MTV. It had been in the early 90s, U2 A to Z, where they played every U2 music video they had. And I digitized it because just the nostalgia and also the commercials. I mean, you had Freedom Rock. This was obviously a late night run. They had some of the 1-900 Call Me Babe commercials in there. And I had to explain to some of my staff here about what that was and how that kind of fit into the media landscape. It's amazing the way you got your entertainment options 30 years ago without the backbone of the internet to be able to bring you anything instantaneously to your phone. I mean, it was a little bit more active in trying to find whatever you were looking for. And just a whole different world. So, well,
our favorite was if we were up watching MTV and the videos, ventured into really bad territory at like 2 or 3 in the morning because we were up studying. We'd switch it to one of the local channels, and there was always the same guy. And I feel like it was like a 3-hour infomercial on a vapor sealer. Like an early version of vapor sealing. And I remember we used to talk about, at one point he's vapor sealing food, and then he's vapor sealing clothes because he's going on a whitewater rafting trip. And these are the clothes that won't get wet. And it's like 4 in the morning. We're just dying. Trying to do a test, but it's like, those magic moments that don't exist on TV anymore.
Well, all right, so let's go back. You cut the show. Do you remember roughly what time of year you cut the show, and what was the lead till it aired on MTV?
Okay, so I think we shot like late January, early February, and then it ended up on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, 1990. So I think it was like a month.
Gotcha.
I think it was like a month. Yeah.
Because there wasn't much post that needed to be done with it being, shot in real time. And
I think but that's also, if you watch the episode, there's also a promo for MTV, like Spring Break.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's when they started doing it like live and stuff. So,
Yeah.
And that's when they started doing stuff from like Miami Beach and things like that. So I don't know. It seemed like it was a weird sort of, I think their scheduling was as odd as their production value.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, if it doesn't work, we'll just throw this on. Who's going to care?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And I think for a while that did work for them.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
they talk about that in the podcast about how MTV Spring Break Live at in Miami happened and how that was kind of a harbinger of things to come. So, well, all right. So what were your parting prizes? You didn't win the whole thing, but you didn't come home empty-handed, other than the shoes.
Everything but the car. So the shoes. Oh boy. So I supposedly won this weird leather jacket that you put bling on. Did not get that. I don't know whatever happened to that, and I really didn't care because it looked awful. I won a tennis racket, a tennis bag, and a sweatsuit, like a tracksuit. Yeah, that went straight to somewhere. I don't know. I won a pretty nice synthesizer.
Oh wow!
Keyboard.
Yeah.
I think that was because of the music guy, Steve Trekus. I think they had a music thing through him, and I think they got some stuff like that.
Yeah.
I got a copy of the MTV home game, which I think my parents still have. It might be worth something. I don't know. Or maybe I gave it to a friend. I don't remember. What else? Oh, so the thing that I won that everybody was like, wanted to see, I won a CD player, but it had a 12-disc changer.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that was like, you could load up 12 discs in that thing and play it at random, play them straight through, do whatever, have it wake you up at 6. I mean, that was the thing. I was like, oh my God, yep, that's cool. That's awesome. I
had a 5-disc changer that I paid an arm and a leg for, and it was on a platter, and yeah. Wow, you were royalty.
Mine were the 2 cartridges.
Yeah.
Where the disc, like 6 discs sat on top of each other in different trays.
That was probably a Pioneer unit, if I remember correctly.
I believe it was a Pioneer unit. And the interesting thing about it, me, I immediately, as soon as I got it, I looked at the back and all the connections.
Uh-huh.
And it had a phone number for if you needed to order a new tray because yours had broken.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, well, that says a lot.
Yeah. Harbinger of things to come. So
I'm like, okay, there you go.
Yeah. So when I'm assuming you had to sign some sort of NDA where you don't talk about it until the show airs, right?
Yes. It was pretty loose, though.
Okay.
I don't think with that show they really cared. It wasn't like I was Ken Jennings on, Jeopardy or anything. They were just kind of like, all right, here's the thing. You got to do this. You got to do that. And try not to talk about your episode until this day. It's like, yeah, okay. Because, there was no sort of internet. There was really no internet usage back then. And if you called a bunch of people and all that, it's not like people were putting in the newspaper that you were a big winner on remote control or something like that. So it was pretty loose. The only thing that they were really, because we were all young, the only thing that they were very, very explicit about is like, here is the total value of what you won and why you will need to claim it on your taxes.
Sure.
Because it's like you won prizes, so that is income.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
And none of us knew that, I don't think.
Yeah.
So they were very good about that.
I know the NDA that we signed for Mark for MasterChef Junior. It was $1 million penalty if you broke silence prior to the end of the to the show being.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure with the way the internet and social media and everything works now, I'm certain of that. Yeah. So
you get back to Syracuse. You're in class. Your episode airs. What happens?
Basically nothing.
Really?
Like people were like, "Oh yeah, I saw you on MTV," but you have to understand there were a lot of students from Syracuse that were on MTV.
Gotcha.
From remote control.
Yeah.
The other was it a month prior? I think it was a month prior too, because the dreaded Playboy Girls of the Big East had come out, and there were like 3 young women from Syracuse in it. So it's not like I was setting the world on fire, almost winning a car on remote control.
Yeah, you had some competition there for eyeballs.
Yeah. The other thing too is, by that time with remote control, I don't think it had. I think it had sort of. And here's me getting into terminology that a lot of my students don't understand. I think it had lost its appeal as a destination watch.
Yeah.
Like, must sit down, must watch remote control. I think it had lost that luster.
Yeah. Because that was the 3rd or 4th season, right?
Yeah. And, they're trying to spice it up with the wheel and stuff like that. But, that was interesting.
What's that?
I think, I cannot remember, because the young woman who was sort of like the female host, the young blonde woman, she, like I said, she was very nice.
Yeah.
But I think she left the stage for some reason, and Ken looked at the crowd and said, "Hey, do you guys want Marisol back?" And even though these were like high schoolers, they started clapping and losing their mind and cheering, because I remember, I think it was Marisol Massey was her name, was on the first season or the first 2 seasons, like his female, sort of like his quote unquote, his girl Friday.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people loved her, and she brought a lot of life to the show, and she was not on the show anymore. I think they'd replaced her with Kari Wurr.
I was going to say, I think it was Kari Wurr who was there.
And then she left, and I think she became like I think they put her in a VJ spot.
Yeah.
And she left, and they had this nice young woman, but I think she was a model, and she was just like, yeah, I'm just standing here.
She was more of a Vanna White than someone to interact with.
Right. And I think he kind of missed that, and I think a lot of the show missed that too.
Yeah.
She was really nice. She worked the crowd really well. She was great with us and all that, but I just don't think she was there I don't think they wanted her asserting a personality.
Yeah.
Which is weird. It just seems weird. So
yeah.
When you've had some like big personalities on there like Marisol and Kari, it was just like, what's this all about? Well, and it didn't seem like it was a Ken wanted to be the sole host kind of thing. It didn't seem like that to any of us.
Well, one of the things I thought was kind of interesting is how all these folks went on to have bigger careers than Ken Ober. I mean, you look at Adam Sandler, Dennis Leary, Colin Quinn got to be fairly large in stand-up circles, and then Kari, a variety of folks, and Ken Ober. I don't know that he ever really had much of a second act after Remote Control, which I always thought he was great. I
think he really, unlike everybody else on there. Everybody else on there were comedians, they were actors, from what I could see, musicians. He really wanted to be like a producer and a game show host.
Yeah.
I think that's really what he wanted.
Yeah.
And, at that time, I don't know that people were taking him seriously as a game show host, because it's like an MTV thing.
Yeah.
Well, and it was like, I think he really wanted that.
Well, it was another one of my favorite shows from around the same time. Well, a little bit later, actually, was on Comedy Central, Win Ben Stein's Money, which I love that show. And Ben Stein, obviously, speechwriter for Nixon. He's in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He's kind of a cult figure. But that's where Jimmy Kimmel got his start, was that show.
Yeah.
And
Jimmy Kimmel, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's interesting how these lower echelon game shows have really launched careers. So all right, so what's your big takeaway, 30 years later, Jim, about Remote Control? Or do you have one?
I don't. Yeah, boy, you really put me on the spot there. It's kind of it's kind of very Gen X, where I'm just like, yeah, it was a thing. It was fun.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a lifelong pursuit or a God, I really want to be on Remote Control. It just was one of those things. Like, yeah, this could be fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, now I have to get to New York City. Damn it.
Yeah. Well,
like, that's expensive.
So when you were job hunting, once you got out of college, I'm assuming you put that on your resume. Did you use that? Nobody
ever asked.
Really?
No.
Wow.
No.
Okay.
No.
That's kind of surprising to me. So, well. All right.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Darn it.
But you.
Yeah. Well, it's also, a lot of people, I just also experienced a lot of people that it's like, well, I didn't have cable.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You were still back in that time, and like people say, I didn't have cable.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
It was probably 94, 95, 96 when MTV reached its saturation. And, that was kind of the, you had the first golden era, and then you had that resurgence in the mid 90s as cable systems were adding more and more channels, and cable became a much bigger penetration in the landscape. And
I think I'm probably wrong on this, but to me it always seemed like, the reality thing started slowly. I know that first season of The Real World made some like weird impact.
Yeah.
But to me, it was like once they started doing like the music awards and the movie awards, that's when it came back, because all of a sudden they were doing these large production things that looked like sort of classic MTV.
And not to keep harping on the podcast, they go into that, and they also talk about the genesis of MTV News, and you bring a Chris Claremont and a Kurt Loder. I mean, Loder from Rolling Stone, and and they track kind of the gravitas of that and how influential MTV News in the 92 presidential election cycle was on our age at that time, and then and how Bill Clinton, the Clinton campaign, embraced it, and furthermore in 96. So you had Rock the Vote. It's a fascinating study. You can never replicate it today because media is too fractured. But what a cool story, Jim. What a cool story. So
thanks. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah. Too bad you still don't have the shoes and the jacket. So, Yeah.
I did up getting a Chrysler LeBaron later, though, like 2 or 3 years later.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't win one.
Yeah.
That car didn't last very long.
Well, the taxes would have lasted longer than the car, probably.
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah.
That would have been
something else.
And eventually it's just like, who needs a CD player? So,
Yeah. So
I think I gave that to my parents, and they still use it. So it's like,
that's the next time you go home, you're gonna have to, if it's still in use, take a photo and text it to me because I'd love to see it.
I will take a photo and send it to you. Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, man. Hey, thanks for.
I tell you what, if I still have the game,
send me a photo.
I'll send you the game. If we still have it, I will send you that.
That would be awesome.
Absolutely, wrap it up and send it to you.
Oh, I'll feel like I was on remote control, or vicariously I was at least. So. All
I
right.
gave it to my friend David, though, but okay.
It's somewhere there.
We'll figure it out. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, hey, thanks we've talked for 45 minutes plus. Thanks for doing this.
Oh, always.
Yeah.
Always. Whenever you need me about obscure remote control stuff, feel free to call.
I'll have to think of another subject. But anyway,
sounds good.
Thanks for joining me, Jim. And guys, thanks for listening. And we will see you next time around.